Our area's most beautiful properties deserve the finest realtors. Meeks Realty Group. We focus on buying and selling residential and commercial properties throughout the tri-state area. Contact Meeks Realty Group online at meeks.us or call 304-440-1101.
The views and opinions expressed on this program do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of 580 WCHS, its employees, or WVRC Media. 580 Live is presented by Thornhill Automotive and is broadcast live from the Parmar Stores studio. The country, the United States of America. The state, West Virginia. The city, Charleston. This is 580 Live. And your host of 580 Live.
What we've got here is failure to communicate.
He's kind of a big deal.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass, and I'm all out of bubblegum.
Dave Allen.
Hey, folks, a good Tuesday morning to you from the Parmar Store Studio. 580 Live brought to you by the Thornhill Auto Group, the voice of Charleston, WCHS. Bigly, Piggly, Wiggly hotline, 304-345-5858. Fruit Pharmacy text, 304-935-5008. 580 Live is brought to you by Thornhill Auto Group, including the all-new Thornhill Toyota. Toyota's celebration continues. Come check out the new sleek Camry, the versatile... Okay, we're working on some things here. The versatile RAV4 or the all-new Tacoma. Drive away with a smile on your face and money in your pocket with Thornhill. Click or come by ThornhillToyotaWV.com or on US 119 in Chapmanville. 580 Live comes to you from the Parmar Store studio. If there's not a Parmar store near you now, there will be soon. Parmar's newest Kanawha Valley location now open, 2725 Winfield Road, Scary Creek, just off the St. Albans exit of I-64. The Putnam County Chamber of Commerce was going to do a ribbon cutting of the new store today to show off the all-new building, formerly 7-Eleven there. And remember, if there's not a Parmar store near you now, there will be soon. A little bit different today in our format because we're going to spend the entire day talking to two different people. The battle of the century, whatever you want to call it. Insert cheesy sports cliche here. To my left, literally and figuratively, State Democratic Party Chair Delegate Michael Ari Pushkin.
Well, I used all three of my names.
Oh, I'm going to.
Usually one has to get in trouble before their middle name gets put out.
And to my right,
good morning.
Literally and figuratively, State Republican Party co-chair, insert middle name here. What is your middle name, Tony?
Michael.
Michael. Okay, I thought I knew that. Tony Michael Hodge.
Good morning.
So, Tony.
Good morning, Dave. Good morning, Mike.
Good middle name, Tony.
And I can tell you that Tony set the stage for this morning, guys, because he came in bearing gifts. He brought us peanut butter fudge.
Yeah, thank you very much. I feel much better.
What did you bring us?
An appetite.
Man after my own heart. We're having some computer issues here, so we're trying to get these things worked out so we can be able to get your text. The one day, that everything, that we really needed, it doesn't seem to be working here. So we're working on it as we speak. But thanks for being here. A couple of ground rules. And again, this is something that, Mike had approached me about. I brought it up to Tony, and we've gone back and forth, and we have tried to be able to work out a schedule where these guys could both be in studio with us. The thing of it is we sometimes forget that outside the world of politics, Mike has a full-time job outside the world of politics. Tony has a full-time job, and you get families and you get other commitments and so on and so forth. So it's not easy to work out everybody's schedule. But we picked a date, and I appreciate it. So I appreciate you guys for agreeing to do this. A couple of ground rules. As I said, be polite. It may get heated at times, but just remember, we're all gentlemen here. Well, mostly. And let's walk away with a smile on our face and a song in our collective hearts.
Yeah, and some peanut butter fudge.
And some peanut butter
I'm already
fudge.
in a better mood.
Yeah.
Thanks, Tony.
See, this is all it took. All this fighting going on around America. If the world just had peanut butter fudge, the world would be a better place. So before we get started, I did promise some folks I would get this in totally unrelated to politics and something we can all agree on, and that is the issue with Alzheimer's and dementia and things of that nature. Tonight at the Alban Arts Center on Old Main in St. Albans, there's going to be a dementia educational training. It starts at 6, sponsored by Dementia Friendly St. Albans and the Alzheimer's Association. Now, if you need more information, contact Summers Brightwell at the Hansford Senior Center, 304-722-4621. I told some friends I'd get that on for them. They called me yesterday, and so I appreciate you guys letting me get that out there. Okay. No real specific format here. Texts are welcome. We got the things straightened out here, so text and phone calls are welcome. We're just going to fly by the seat of our proverbial pants here, and I got a couple things I want to get to. Mike, I have a question for you to start. Okay.
Sure, Dave.
And I mean this with no disrespect toward you, because this started well before you took over the state Democratic Party chairmanship. Why are so many people leaving the Democratic Party in West Virginia?
In West Virginia.
Well,
I think that, to their credit, the Republicans have done a good job of really nationalizing the issues. And if you look at the state Republican Party's social media presence, it's all about national issues. And correct me if I'm wrong, but they rarely talk about local issues. And there's a lot of people have misidentified or mischaracterized the Democrats for something that we're really not. And I think it's up to us to get that message out there and say, you know what? We've always been the party that's fought for the working class. We've always been the party that fights for access to health care, for good governance, good roads, expanding broadband, actually trying to improve the lives of West Virginians. But I think we're painted with this, false brush of where some, far out extremists. But I can tell you that in office here in West Virginia, those of us who are in office here, we tend to be the adults in the room. And a lot of times it's the other side that takes some of the most extreme viewpoints. So it's a mischaracterization. It's our fault that people have really overwhelmingly bought into this, but I don't think it's going to last in the long run. I really don't. I don't think politics of fear and division are a good plan for the future. I think the younger generation doesn't relate to that, and I don't think there's any future in what the Republican Party is doing. And if you look at it in other states, it's not working. States like Arizona or New Mexico or even North Carolina are all starting to trend back towards the Democratic Party.
Tony, would you care to respond?
Well, one thing you mentioned was things about roads and infrastructure and things of that nature. Those are things that we agree on. I mean, we both parties agree on that. But, you mentioned some of these other states. North Carolina was one of the states you mentioned. I'll come to that. But since 2004, 173 state legislators have switched parties. Okay, and the vast majority of those have gone from the Democrat Party over to the Republican Party. Even at the U.S. Senate level, the senators that have switched parties, they don't leave the Republican Party. They're always leaving the Democrat Party. Bernie Sanders left the Democrat Party.
Bernie Sanders has run as an independent. I believe he was an independent mayor of Burlington, Vermont, and when he ran for president, of course, you can't get elected. I mean, with the way the Electoral College is set up, and I'm sorry to butt in there, but Bernie Sanders has always been an independent. So.
Well, in North Carolina, you brought that state up. So just recently, it was within the last month or two, one of their representatives down there in their House ended up flipping from Democrat to Republican, which gave Republicans a supermajority in their House. So they have a supermajority in their House and their Senate, and they're able to override their Democratic governor. And the people down there seem to love it. The same thing just happened down in Louisiana. There was a state representative that switched from the Democrat Party. He was a Democrat for, I think, 48 years. And switch over to the Republican Party, and that's given Louisiana's House a supermajority. So we see these things going on all around the country. I just cited evidence. I think things are moving in our direction. But here's the thing. This is America. We're going to have Democrats. We're going to have Republicans. The cool thing about America, the thing that I think that we can all agree on, is what I call American exceptionalism. And that is that in this country, there's an exception to the rule from all other countries. And that is that people like Mike and people like me, we can sit down in a room and talk and hash out our differences and all that. And then we can leave here and go watch a football game together or go, talk football.
Eat peanut butter fudge,
whatever it is. In other countries, they're going to war. That's what makes America exceptional and different, is that we can do these things and disagree and still live our lives.
But would you both agree, though, that we're getting to the point now that we almost can't? I understand completely what you're saying, Tony, but are we getting to the point when you just about can't do that anymore because you are painted? I mean, how many times during the last election or whatever did you hear people say on both sides, if you are going to support Donald Trump, go ahead and unfriend me now. If you're going to support Joe Biden, go ahead and unfriend me now. I mean, are we getting to the point where we won't be able to do that anymore?
I hope not. It seems to be going that way, but I mean, I consider. I think Tony's a good guy. We went out one time after a what was a meeting
Redistricting meeting.
about gerrymandering, which is one of the reasons why North Carolina and other states have flipped their state legislatures because of gerrymandering. Because often they draw the lines according to how people vote and not necessarily how they live. But after that gerrymandering meeting that we attended in Putnam County, you and I and Delegate Kayla Young, went and enjoyed tacos at one of the best taco places in Putnam County, if not the state. Unfortunately, I don't think they're there anymore.
They're not. Yeah.
But you mentioned trends in other states. I think on a national level, I'm trying to remember the last time the Republican Party actually won the popular vote in this country. And I think it was 1988. They haven't won. I mean, they've won the Electoral College. They haven't won the popular vote since 1988. And I think in my opinion, if you hit
2004, I think.
Yeah. Okay. 2004. So one time since 1988. 2004. You're right. They won the popular vote in 2004. That's right.
Okay.
But they didn't in 2000. They didn't in 2008. They did in 2012. They did in 2016. Did not win the popular vote then. Did not win the popular vote in 2020. Although you might disagree with that, since a lot of people in your party have a hard time accepting the results of the election, including the flag bearer of your party, Donald Trump. I personally think, look, I would love to see the Republican Party return to what it once was. And I don't mean super minority either. I mean what my grandfather believed in. It was mind your own business and for government to get out of people's way. And it's not what the Republican Party is now. They seem to be involved in every decision, want to be involved in every decision people make, whether it's in their doctor's office or whether it's in their whatever it happens to be. And it's really become more of a party of a personality than a political party. I mean, it's just this blind devotion to Donald Trump has me really concerned about the future of our country and the future of your party.
Well, if you're concerned about our party being involved in people's lives through government and things like that, maybe you should join. That's something that the Democrats have been historically. It's a joke. It's a joke.
I don't think you're going to get me switching parties.
No, and we're that's perfectly fine. No,
and I don't think anybody's asked me.
I do want to go back, though, because you talked about the time that we were together in Putnam County on that redistricting thing. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting because we talk about our divisions and things like that, which, Dave, I'd like to come back to because I think the media fuels a lot of that. I think
easy.
It's part of the formula. And
I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree.
Media.
I just get a little defense when people say the media because I don't know what the media is, but I understand completely what you're saying.
Sure, but there's other times when people get into a room together. So we had legislators come down to Putnam County during redistricting. I was there. Chairman Pushkin was there. There was others from both parties there, and we all got up and spoke. And the things that we were saying were basically all in agreement. We were all in agreement that night. I remember at that time I still am the Putnam County Republican Party chairman, and there was the Putnam County Democratic Party chairman, mm-hmm. and we both got up and essentially said the same thing. And the thing that we were complaining about, though, was gerrymandering of our House districts, which was actually done back in 2010 when the Democrats had the majority. And everybody in that room agreed that they were gerrymandered and we needed to fix it, and we did.
It was back when the Democrats drew the lines. Yeah, they were gerrymandered, but not to protect the political party. Obviously, since they lost the legislature, that was protect incumbency, and that's wrong. I think that I've introduced bill after bill every year to create an independent redistricting commission. Of course, the Republicans are going to have no part of that. When they're in power, they weren't going to give that power up. But yeah, the lines are often based on how people vote and not where people live. Where you are sitting right now is a tiny little sliver of Kanawha County. It's some of the bluest precincts in the state. And if you look at the Senate District number 8, it looks like a giant ram's horn, and you're in the tip of it right now. But it takes in half of Putnam County, where you live, part of Jackson County, all of Roane and Clay County. And it was done so it would make it very hard for a Democrat to win the Senate district. Here in where you're sitting right now in the bluest part of the state, that's gerrymandering, and that was done to protect one political party. Now, you mentioned earlier you're the vice chair of the state GOP and also the chair of the Putnam County Republican Executive Committee. And, of course, Dave is also the president of the Putnam County Republican Club.
I am not.
You stepped down?
I stepped down. Dude, I stepped down several months ago.
You want to join our party?
No. I didn't leave the party. I stepped down because I had 4 straight meetings in a row that because of my outside work commitments I couldn't make, and it's just not fair. So I actually resigned earlier in the year.
Okay. Well, for the record, I'm here with the vice chair of the state Republican Party and the former chair of the Putnam County Republican Club.
Yeah.
But I still like you guys.
Yeah. Well, that's good.
All right.
We can get that. Hopefully that we can stay there. All right, I got a bunch of texts to get to. We're going to get to Trump, and I got a lot.
Something happened last night?
I think something did, and we're going to get to everybody's take on that coming up. 580 Live is brought to you part by QC Kinetics of Huntington and Cross Lanes. Is that knee pain getting worse? How about pain in your shoulders, your hips, or your back? Get real lasting relief without surgery, drugs, or downtime. Call QC Kinetics today, 304-202-5566, 304-202-5566 for QC Kinetics of Huntington and Cross Lanes. State Republican Party co-chair Tony Hodge is here, and State Democratic Party chair Mike Pushkin, both in the Parmar Store studio. We're back after this. 580 Live brought to you by the Thornhill Auto Group on the Voice of Charleston, WCHS.
Brought to you by the Eric J. Tarr Family Businesses. Eric J. Tarr Family Businesses bring first-class businesses to your community.
Get ready for the ultimate summer savings at the new Thornhill Toyota Celebration. Hey, it's Sydney, inviting you to the Thornhill Motor Mile to take advantage of our red, white, and vroom savings. Upgrade your ride with unbeatable deals on our top models, from the sleek Camry to the versatile RAV4 or the all-new Tacoma. We have the perfect car for your summer adventures. You can drive away with a smile on your face and money in your pocket. Click or come by ThornhillToyotaWV.com or US 119 in Chapmanville for the summer celebration. See Thornhill for full details.
Reckless big government policies are putting the American dream out of reach. We all know Washington is broken, but it doesn't have to be. Senator Joe Manchin could be part of the solution if he stood up for West Virginia values. Instead, he voted with Joe Biden on the Inflation Reduction Act, which led to higher taxes, trillions in new spending, and tens of thousands of new IRS agents. Tell Joe Manchin, Mountaineers want real, common sense solutions. To learn more, visit prosperityispossible.com. Paid for by Americans for Prosperity.
The West Virginia University football team is approaching a seminal season. Head coach Neil Brown's job is on the line, and it all begins with a showdown with an old rival in Happy Valley. Saturday, September 2nd, Metro News returns with team coverage you have come to depend on. Hoppy Kercheval, Brad Howe, Fred Persinger, Kyle Wiggs, Jeff Jenkins, Travis Jones, Greg Hunter, Dave Weekley, Joe Bricotto, Steve Dunlap, and the rest of the crew return with the most comprehensive and candid coverage of the Mountaineers here on this Metro News station.
Hey, it's Dave Allen for Parmar Stores. Ah, yes, summertime. From the ballparks to the pools to the backyard barbecues to vacation or just hanging out at the house, chances are you're going to run out of something. And when you do, visit your local Parmar store. From gas to groceries and all the other stuff you need, Parmar has you covered. Download the Parmar app for even more savings and sign up for the rewards card. Parmar is the official convenience store of Marshall University and the official store of the West Virginia Schools Activities Commission. Happy summer, and remember, if there's not a Parmar store near you now, there will be soon.
924, 580 Live, presented in part by Husson's Pizza. This month, get a large 18-inch pepperoni pizza and an order of cheese sticks, only $21.99. For locations to place an order or for delivery, visit HussonsPizza.com. Tony Hodge, State Republican Party co-chair, is here. State Democratic Party chair Mike Pushkin is here. I knew we'd get the text. Let's get to them. Text says, a bit of truth. Trump's election was a reaction by working-class conservatives to elitist Democrats who have looked down their noses at us for years. While claiming to be the party of the working class, the Democrats mock you if you do not have a college degree. And they still continue to this day to insult us, call us Nazis, racists, homophobes, etc. Know this. Another Trump-like blunt and plain-speaking person will get elected again down the line because the left never learns. They never apologize. They never admit they were wrong. They double down. By the way, I'm a former Democrat, Mike.
Well, I find that. I mean, I take the, good point. However, I'm chair of the West Virginia Democratic Party, and I drove a cab for nearly 20 years. I worked a blue-collar job. I don't think of, looking down on the working class at all. In fact, we're the party that supports the working class. And I think they've done, like I said, the Republicans have done a really good job of flipping the script and leading people who do, sign the back of the paycheck, not the people that sign the front of the paycheck. People are out there working for a living, of getting them to support them, even though if you look at what has really happened, what did Trump really accomplish? A tax cut that for the most part, benefited the wealthiest 1%, clearing away a lot of regulations that help big corporations, stacking the courts against working class people. Most of what he did, just about everything he did, was really and what the Republican Party has done has been protecting the wealth of the wealthiest 1%. But they've done a very good job of making it seem like they're the party for the working class. However, they're not. If you look at the policies, you actually look at what they've passed, look at what they've done since they've been in charge of West Virginia over the past 10 years. How has that benefited working people?
Okay, Tony.
I mean, thousands of people are agreeing with what we're doing. I mean, the numbers show, the evidence is there. The evidence is on paper. All anybody has to do is go and look at it, and it's right there. The people agree with what we're doing, and I think a little bit of what you're saying. I know you're saying it to make a point, but a little bit of what you're saying is correct. There may have been a time in the Republican Party where the working class may have felt like we ignored them or weren't for them. And I feel like we've done a lot of correcting in that area, and we have been more attractive to the working class. And we're going to continue to do that because our party, we're going to encompass whether it be the business owner or like you said, the person signing the back of the paycheck. And we have to figure out a way to be able to cater and deal with both of those. And that's what we're doing. So I feel like the Republican Party is doing a really good job. And in this state, the evidence is on paper. We can look at
the evidence is on the amount of people that have left the state, because of a lot of the legislation that has been pushed out of this legislature over the past 10 years. I mean, the numbers don't lie. People are leaving the state. Low enrollment at our flagship university has caused that university to cut all sorts of courses of study. Laying off professors left and right. We don't have a future in a state like that where we don't value education. We have year after year, the Republican legislature has cut funding to higher education. One of the first things they did when they took over, we became a right to work state. We repealed prevailing wage. We're saying, people, if you work a dangerous job out there building a road or a bridge, you shouldn't make as much money as they do in other states. That's what the Republicans have done because they have been out there to benefit those who signed the front of the check, the big contractors or the big companies that are paying the working class people.
Okay, right.
But they've done a good job of what I call a distraction by only talking about culture war issues. That's what y'all have done.
All right.
And nationalizing. They don't talk about state issues. It's all about national issues and about things that really don't affect the day-to-day lives of West Virginians, but it certainly gets them mad at each other.
All right. All right, I guess. You give me 20 seconds.
I was just going to say,
20 seconds.
When I watch you guys in the legislature, I watch the House and the Senate sessions and all that, and when the 8 or 9 of you guys in the House on the Democrat side, when you guys get up and speak, your most impassioned speeches, and I can show them to you, your most impassioned ones, the ones that you really take up time and really lift your voice and things like that, are on the social issues. They just are.
Well, we're defending people who have often been on the fringe of society, who have often been some of the most vulnerable elements of our society. That's who we're defending. I'm sorry if I'm not going to apologize for being passionate about taking up for the underdog. I'm a West Virginian.
I'm
not
saying you should apologize, but I'm just saying
we don't introduce.
You're putting it all on us. It's both sides get very impassioned on the social issues. Both sides do. You have to admit.
But they introduced the bills. They're aimed at creating division and fear. And I think that we should just treat everybody with respect. Dave ends every show. What do you say at the end of every show?
Have fun and love
you
somebody.
say love somebody. Well, aren't we commanded to love everybody?
Yes. Yes, we are.
Maybe we should act like it.
All right. Texas Dave, Bernie Sanders was a major candidate for the Democratic presidential nomination in 2016 and 2020. Texas cannabis question. The MVP is supposed to, talking about the pipeline, is supposed to bring in $45 million per year in tax revenue between West Virginia and Virginia when online. In Colorado, the state brought in $325 million in tax revenue in 2022. It's obvious if it's done right, legal cannabis is a moneymaker. My question is, why is West Virginia fighting so hard for the MVP? And it's a small amount of tax revenue, and it's so hard, but they are so hard against legal cannabis, which could be a big contributor to the state. Not only tax revenue, but legal cannabis will have more downstream jobs than the MVP when it's online. Thanks, Tony. We'll start with you.
Well, I'll tell you this. Speaking of legal cannabis, when I was in Washington, D.C., I've been up there a few times over the past couple of months. The cloud of marijuana smoke in that city is overwhelming. It's legal there. Anyway, I was talking to some people while I was up there about it, and one of the issues that they have is on taxing it. There's still this huge underground system of dealing
black market
and all that, and now it's to avoid taxes. So you still have it. You didn't get away from the black market. As far as the MVP thing, I'm sorry, I don't have the knowledge. I don't know what's
cannabis,
going on
Mike.
First of all, I don't like pitting certain industries against each other. I'll talk about cannabis. I've been to DC recently. I did not experience what you experienced. I didn't smell cannabis smoke everywhere. I did visit Denver back after we miraculously passed the what's become the Medical Cannabis Act here in West Virginia. A bipartisan group of legislators went to Denver, and I didn't smell it at all. And actually, they have really cut down on the black market in Colorado because they actually passed the law correctly. They made it so actually if you're undercutting the black market, people are going to buy it legally and pay taxes on it. Once again, I think that I remember back in the day when the Republican Party was the party of mind your own business and let grown adults make decisions for themselves. That's how I feel about cannabis. I definitely do not condone it. I personally will not use it. But I think grown adults should be able to make those decisions for themselves, especially if alcohol is legal, which is more dangerous.
All right, let's take a phone call. Ryan, let's go to Don. You're on with Mike and Tony. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to tell Mike and Tony, I love you all.
We love you, Don.
Thank you, Don.
We love you, Don.
Well, listen, guys, I tell you what, Brother Pushkin, let me ask you this. Is the Democratic Party the same party that you grew up with?
Yes, it is.
No, it's not. No, it's not. Because I'm telling you, Mike, you can't.
It's not.
Well, how so?
You're outvoted here, guys.
Because I mean, I think what I believe in, people work for a living. They should get a living wage. Should be able to raise a family on what they work for. They should be able to see a doctor if, God forbid, they get sick. They should have the best schools for their kids to go to.
Don,
and everybody should be treated with the basic amount of respect, and we should respect the human rights of everybody.
Don,
that's what I believe. That's what we've always believed.
Don, you're saying it's not.
But thank you for Don. Thanks for saying the correct term, Democratic Party. Tony can't seem to get that last IC out of his mouth. He calls us the Democrat Party. Tony, we're the Democratic Party.
Don, you feel it's not the same party, I'm gathering. Why?
Well, it's quite clear. Mike is an old-style Democrat, okay? The party that you see out there right now, who in the world knows what they believe? It's whichever way the windsock is blowing.
Well, Don, I happen to be the chair of the West Virginia Democratic Party, and I serve in the legislature with other elected members of the Democratic Party. I can tell you the difference is, while both parties do have extremists, it seems that the extremists are in control of the Republican Party right now, not the Democratic Party.
All right, Tony, you want to respond to that? Go ahead, and then we'll move on. Go ahead.
Well, I think a lot of people would find that comment interesting by Mike Pushkin that Tony Hodge is an extremist. But anyway, what I was going to say is
you believe that Trump lose the election, that Biden win the election?
Hold on just a second. There are Republicans all over this state who have a great affinity for what they consider JFK Democrats. There are Democrats from a bygone era that says, ask not what you can do for, or not, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. The Democratic Party isn't like that. The Democratic Party is, what can government do for me? What handouts can they give me? How can government solve this problem or solve that problem? We just have a fundamental difference where we don't think all of the answers rely on government. But
unless it's about a woman and her right to choose, then you believe that answer should rely with government. I think it should go to the voters.
That's government protecting children, Mike.
I think it should go to the voters. Like, well, you know what? I think that your party and
it did go to the voters in this state.
No, it didn't.
Amendment 1.
Amendment 1 was about public funding. About public funding. That's very different. But I think now that it actually Roe has been overturned, can your party find the courage to put it on the ballot and listen to the voters on that? Do they want an all-out, across-the-board ban? Because that's what West Virginia has, one of the most extreme laws in the country. Or do you think it should be a decision that
our legislators, we live in a republic, our legislators represent us. I would not have any problem putting it on the ballot.
Good. Have you talked to your delegates and your senators in your party, and let's get it on the ballot?
I wouldn't have any problem. But it's already been settled by our legislators. And
what Mike's talking about really hasn't been settled.
It hasn't.
Because, I'm going to defend Mike in this.
Well, I'm talking about our abortion legislation.
If you put it on the ballot, in my opinion, if you put it on the ballot, which you say you're for, yes or no, outlawing all abortion, most Americans feel that what has been passed are too extreme. They're way too extreme in what's been passed. Most Americans, that's the
and the Republican Party is too extreme now.
Well, I didn't go that far.
It is. That might not be the perception, but that is reality. And at some point, the perception will catch up with the reality. Y'all have become very extreme.
You can call me an extremist. If protecting the life of a child is extremist, then by God, I'm an extremist.
All right.
Take that one to the bank.
Tex says, with most Americans seemingly tired and rather disgusted with the national parties and division, the majority would prefer neither Biden or Trump. So why then, other than money, did both statewide D's and R's leadership continue to support such these folks when neither are worthy of leading the greatest country in the world?
The state party leaders don't choose who wins primaries. The voters do. And Biden won the primary in 2020. He won the general election in 2020. I'm not sure if Tony agrees with that, but he won the popular vote and the electoral vote in 2020, and he's the president. And it looks like right now Donald Trump is the clear front runner in the Republican primaries. So,
all right. Speaking of Trump, I want to keep this on the local level, but I have to mention this. Last night came word from Georgia, yet another indictment surrounding the former president. This is his fourth. The term criminal enterprise was used in the indictment. Trump and 18 other defendants named for, among other things, lying to the Georgia legislature and other state officials, creating a fake pro-Trump slate for the Electoral College, harassing election workers, and engaging in a cover-up. I'm a bit of a mafia nerd, guys, but the term RICO is being thrown around a lot, meaning widespread racketeering. Hoppy's going to get into this much further into the next hour for the show, but first of all, your response, Tony.
Well, I mean, I just found out about the indictment this morning, so I don't have a lot of the details on it and things like that. But I'll tell you, this it almost seems like a weaponization of the justice system, trying to settle a political process. I don't know what's going to happen there. I know we've got indictments on Trump. We've got indictments now with the Biden crime family. I mean, you've got Hunter Biden now, and now you've got Merrick Garland, the Attorney General. He's trying to do damage control and save face because of their terrible agreement that they had with Hunter Biden. They got called out on it by a judge, and now they're trying to do damage control, and that's Merrick Garland. I mean, this is the guy who was nominated by President Barack Obama to be the next Supreme Court justice, and we're seeing now really what kind of guy this is. Could you imagine if he had gotten on there? I'm so thankful that we had Republicans in control in the Senate at that time to be able to stop that nomination and keep Merrick Garland from getting on our Supreme Court. It's wild.
Mike?
Well, you asked a question about the Trump indictment that came out last night, and Tony immediately pivoted to
Well, I just don't have all the information on it.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you saying that, because usually the West Virginia Republican Party, and I notice I say it properly, WVGOP, I imagine y'all probably already put out a press release saying that it's a witch hunt and automatically, no matter what, you're going to side with Trump before even reading this 100-page indictment, which I haven't read, and you admitted you haven't read it either.
I haven't read it.
I'm getting bits and pieces of it right now, and there's some really bad stuff in there. If proven true, it's really bad. Now, first of all, I think that this coming out late last night was just a way to distract people from the real news, and that's that Dalvin Cook just signed with the New York Jets, and they're most likely going to win the Super Bowl. By the way, who's your NFL team, Tony?
I don't have an NFL team. I'm WVU. I'm call it
doesn't
WVU
have
Marshall.
an NFL team.
Yeah.
Okay, but let's
neither does West Virginia. I mean, you're picking a team out of Dallas, Dave.
Back to the indictment.
You're picking teams out of New York.
Back to the indictment.
Come on, guys.
I would say there is a theory that says sometimes the most logical explanation and the easiest explanation is probably what's really going on. And it is easy to understand this because a lot of these alleged crimes, and they are alleged crimes, everybody's innocent until proven guilty, but a lot of them were committed in real time, in public, right in front of. We've all heard the recording of Trump calling the chief election officer of Georgia, who was a Republican who Trump endorsed, the Secretary of State of Georgia, calling them, demanding to get me those votes. Go out and get me those extra votes. Governor Kemp, also a conservative Republican, is supporting that Secretary of State. The people testifying him, his own chief of staff, people that he's appointed. This is not some conspiracy, Tony. This is a grand jury that heard evidence based on testimony from Republicans that Trump appointed, people who had absolutely nothing to gain by turning on Trump, but they're telling the truth. And it's up to that prosecutor to prove it. And if they prove it beyond a reasonable doubt, then he's in some big trouble. And your party has hitched its wagon to this guy. And one thing he said that was true. One thing he said was he could shoot somebody in the face on Fifth Avenue, and you guys would never turn on him. And you know what? That's the one thing he said that was true.
Let's move on to some text here. Ask Tony to admit that under President Biden, the U.S. has seen the largest ever oil and gas production in 2023, and it's posted to break this record in 2024, and that unemployment is at its lowest in 50 years. Comment on that.
I can't admit to something that I haven't seen the data on. I don't know if oil and gas is at the highest levels. If it is, great for our oil and gas companies and their employees.
Okay. Tony says Tony is an extremist. He supports a sexual abuser for president and is happy that Trump did nothing for 124 minutes while the Capitol was under attack on January 6th. Too bad Hodge will dodge, giving truthful answer to these issues. Let me knock out a couple more before the break. Text says the Dems lost West Virginia when they started the war on coal. Mike, give me 30 seconds on that before we go to break.
Well, I think the coal industry has been in decline. Unfortunately, steam coal has been in decline since the 80s. Unfortunately, I think it's been a misrepresentation of, and we've had 20 years now of this $1 million PR campaign from the coal industry. And it's the station is part of it, quite frankly. Where
they're an advertiser.
An advertiser. So it's part of it. To hear they're talking about protecting a way of life, when really what the Republican Party has really done is protecting the way of life of the folks who sign the front of the check. If you look at when they try to pass legislation that gut mine safety laws, are they for the coal miner or are they for the coal company? In a lot of cases, they're for the coal company. We firmly believe the most important thing to come out of a mine is a miner. And that's whose side we're on.
18 minutes away from 10, 580 Live, presented in part by Meeks Realty Group. Our area's most beautiful properties deserve the finest realtors. Meeks Realty Group. Visit them online, meeks.us, or call 304-440-1101. We're back after this with Hodge and Pushkin, 580 Live at the Voice of Charleston, WCHS.
Brought to you by the Eric J. Tarr Family Businesses. Eric J. Tarr Family Businesses want to thank you for shopping locally.
Let's talk about your business phone system. It's old and needs updated, but you probably think, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. There are many benefits to a new phone system from Comax Business Systems. The sound is much clearer. Everyone in your office can have a dedicated line that will remote call forward from their cell phones, and your voicemail will actually work. Comax's digital phone systems are competitively priced and efficient. Call Comax Business Systems for a free quote today. Comax Business Systems. We've kept West Virginia's business data safe, secure, and efficient for 25 years.
Get ready for the ultimate summer savings at the new Thornhill Toyota Celebration. Hey, it's Sydney, inviting you to the Thornhill Motor Mile to take advantage of our red, white, and vroom savings. Upgrade your ride with unbeatable deals on our top models, from the sleek Camry to the versatile RAV4 or the all-new Tacoma. We have the perfect car for your summer adventures. You can drive away with a smile on your face and money in your pocket. Click or come by ThornhillToyotaWV.com or US 119 in Chapmanville for the summer celebration. See Thornhill for full details.
Be happy and call Pappy. Be happy, call Pappy for heating and cooling. Done right, on time, great service, and at the right price. The name you know, the name you trust. When air quality counts, you can count on us. For new installation or repair, commercial, residential, we'll be there. 304-949-HELP, an ACI Solutions Company. Be happy, call Pappy.
16 away from 10, 580 Live, brought to you in part by Pinnacle Consultants, the only accredited commercial lab in West Virginia for asbestos and mold. Asbestos was banned in some building products, but it isn't banned for all products in the U.S., so don't expose your family or workers to asbestos, mold, or lead paint. Get with Pinnacle Consultants. They offer real estate environmental assessments for hazardous materials and air quality. Visit pinnaclecorp.net, because what you don't know can hurt you. We've got Tony Hodge and Mike Pushkin here. Texas Republicans want to take away the Constitution to have one U.S. religion take away women's rights and call our vets suckers and losers. Texas says the average American family has lost $7,400 in annual income due to inflation and rate hikes and is suffering under Biden's policy. How is this man supporting the working man? Let me just get through as many of these.
I'll just add to that. I read a report last night, it was yesterday, that in 2013, a $50,000 a year job, in today's numbers, you'd have to be making $80,000 a year to have the same standard.
But how much of that falls under...
that's been going on for a long time.
I was going to say, how much of that, in all fairness, can be blamed on Joe Biden?
Well, come on, guys. I mean, the inflation rate since Joe Biden's been president...
I'm not saying it's not.
Why is that? The inflation rate, because a lot of it had to do with the pandemic, where you had a demand once the shutdowns were lifted. Of course, and our governor, a Republican governor, I'm not sure if you support him, but he had a real shutdown here in West Virginia. I imagine you supported that as well. But once we came out of that, the supply didn't meet the demand, and that's what led to this inflation, which is starting to go back. But what we do see is record unemployment right now, and record investment in West Virginia, due in large part to the bipartisan infrastructure bill that neither Congresswoman Millard nor Congressman Mooney voted for, and then the Inflation Reduction Act that no Republicans voted for.
Yeah, even Joe Manchin's backing out on that one.
No, actually, he was on the radio the other day touting it, saying it doesn't get enough credit with the amount of investment that it's put into West Virginia. So you're going to say you're against the Inflation Reduction Act, yet your governor
which did not reduce inflation at all.
Inflation is
positive.
Inflation is starting to go down.
It's still positive. Joe Biden has not. He doesn't have the solutions to be able to stimulate it. Mm-hmm. And then Go ahead.
Let's talk about state issues, okay? When you talk about investment in the Northern Panhandle with Form Energy or this, the boat motor company up there, or over in Mason County with Nucor, or right here in Kanawha County with this company that's building electric school buses. That's all due to the Inflation Reduction Act.
It's due to the Republican.
And Senator Capito and Governor Justice will be the first ones to show up to cut a ribbon, but then they'll bash the actual legislation that led to this record investment in West Virginia.
But many
so
of these
you should be thanking
Mike. Many of these
Senator Manchin.
Many of these investments, though, were underway before. To be fair, before
Nucor was underway before IRA.
Yeah, it was. I'm not saying it
incentivized this type of investment, and you cannot, with a straight face, say that the Inflation Reduction Act didn't bring this record amount of inflation of investment into West Virginia.
The Republican supermajority in this state is paving the way for economic development in this
which
state.
bill?
These private companies are coming in. There's a host of different bills. I mean, I don't have them in front of me, but there's a host. But it's a whole package. When you take that whole package and you have, our legislators who are really working hard, and our governor who are going out here trying to recruit companies, and they're coming much more in a much grander scale than when the Democratic Party was in charge. Talking about other types of investments, let's talk about infrastructure investments. We've invested like some $300 million over the last couple sessions in infrastructure investments to pave our roads, to do water, sewer, and things like this. The reason that we have all these road problems, you don't just flip a switch and all of a sudden the roads get bad. It happened over years and years of neglect. And quite frankly, your party was in control of all, the House, the Senate, and the governor. And here we are all these years going through neglect, things not getting done. Then the Republicans take over, and we have all this work to do. Now, we had a lot on our shoulders. There's a lot there to get done, and it takes time. It's slow, but we are getting it done, and we're fixing problems that you guys, quite frankly, your party, not you, but your party, we feel like their policies put us in that position. We're fixing it. It just takes time.
Well, I couldn't disagree more. First of all, a lot of the money that's gone to the roads was because of the Roads for Prosperity Act, which I voted for, but it did raise fees on, it was really a tax. So the Republican governor did support that. I imagine you support that as well.
Water and sewer.
You're a Republican governor that did raise taxes on car owners. To pay for the Roads for Prosperity. However, what's not being addressed,
I think he was a Democrat at that time.
Well, okay, I guess what we can agree on is that Jim Justice is a rhino. I guess we can agree on that, right? He's a Republican in name only, not a real Republican. He stands for himself. But one thing, you said that he's out there working hard. I'm sorry, I've been in the legislature now his entire tenure, and he does not work hard. We never see him. And the state has suffered because of that. When we have suffered one of the worst drug epidemics in the country, yet for 8 months now, he has failed to appoint somebody to be the head of the Office of Drug Control Policy. To my knowledge, he still hasn't appointed the board members for the West Virginia First Foundation. It's supposed to determine how the drug abatement money gets spent from these lawsuits. We have engineers who are fleeing the Department of Transportation in droves because of mismanagement and just a toxic culture over under his appointee over at the Department of Transportation. Of course, Jim Justice would know because he doesn't have cabinet meetings. Tell me the last time the governor's had a cabinet meeting to address some of these issues. We've had to break up the DHHR because of the dysfunction going on at the DHHR. You know who suffers when that happens? The most vulnerable folks in our society, foster children. We have close to 8,000 of them in foster care right now. And what has the governor and the legislature done to address that? They might, tinker around the edges, but they're not really getting to the heart of the issues, and that's support services for families.
All right,
and it's to make it easier for families to open up their home to foster children. It's not being done. We are 50th in everything, and people are leaving this state, and our flagship university in this state is having to cut all sorts of courses, so it's going to be a self-fulfilling prophecy where less people are going to be coming here.
Let's let Tony respond.
There are things being done on the foster care system. I mean, one thing that you mentioned is restructuring of DHHR. The legislature passed that legislation. The governor signed it into law. That takes time. You can't do that overnight. Hasn't there been stipends that have been passed to help families who want to be foster parents? And here's the thing too. You talk about shortage in foster homes.
Have there been?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So you're asking me. Yeah. Small.
Well, you're a legislator. I'm not. Okay. So you're in the legislature. I saw you say to someone on Twitter the other day, you have stationery and you have a pen. Mm-hmm. Let's see. Speaking of that, you talk about shortage in foster homes. You have a home. You have an extra bedroom. You have stationery, you have a pen. Listen, I come from the foster care system. I'm a product of the foster care system. I know all about it. It's talking about abortion all the way from when you're born, going through the foster care system and coming through that. I know all about it, man. I know what it takes. I know what it is. I come from that system. I'm in that system.
Well,
I'm
you
a
should
product
know
of
that
it.
the system is broken right now.
But I also know...
And they're not doing enough to fix it. It should be a top priority. And those children are the future of our
Right.
state, and there's nearly 8,000 of them. We need to address the issue. We need to
Put your money where your mouth is. Become a foster parent.
Well, a good point. Good
All right,
point.
all right.
I'm a single.
All right.
I'm a bachelor, and I wouldn't subject anybody to that.
I agree.
You can sit and play guitar for the children.
All right. Text says imposter in the White House. Text says, can Pushkin let others finish his sentence? Finishes their sentences. He's rude. Seems like Mr. Hodge always pivots to whataboutism instead of answering questions. I'd rather have Garland on the Supreme Court than Clarence Thomas 10 times.
Not me.
He doesn't take bribes.
Okay. All right. Trump has now, says a texter, Trump has now been indicted in every city in the National League East except for Philadelphia. Come on, Philly, says a texter. Let me see. Texter says the modern liberal Democratic Party, all drugs all the time. JFK wouldn't recognize the Democratic Party of the day.
True.
Says a texter. Let me see. Let me knock out one more here. Ask them both to denounce the lack of leadership at the top of their national parties. Allow voters to decide their standard bearers. We'll try to get to that if we can. Let me see. All right, we got to take a break. We're back after this. Phone calls to 580 Live are in service of Biggly Piggly Wiggly, and our texting service is provided by Fruth Pharmacy, your hometown family pharmacy. Back after this from the Parmar Store Studio. 580 Live brought to you by the Thornhill Auto Group on the Voice of Charleston, WCHS.
Brought to you by the Eric J. Tarr Family Businesses. Eric J. Tarr Family Businesses live to make life better for you and your family.
Elevators. You take them for granted until they let you down. If you're working to maintain a stellar reputation, then let me introduce you to DC Elevator. We want to work with you to make sure your people get where they are going. What could be better than a new company coming to the area and already having 45 years of experience? DC Elevator is bringing a new culture of elevator maintenance, repairs, modernization, and installation to West Virginia. Don't leave your people hanging. For a free consultation, call DC Elevator at 304-345-7222.
Get ready for the ultimate summer savings at the new Thornhill Toyota Celebration. Hey, it's Sydney, inviting you to the Thornhill Motor Mile to take advantage of our red, white, and vroom savings. Upgrade your ride with unbeatable deals on our top models, from the sleek Camry to the versatile RAV4 or the all-new Tacoma. We have the perfect car for your summer adventures. You can drive away with a smile on your face and money in your pocket. Click or come by ThornhillToyotaWV.com or US 119 in Chapmanville for the summer celebration. See Thornhill for full details.
Thrive with 5 at the best community bank in the Kanawha Valley, Poca Valley Bank. Poca Valley Bank is now offering a certificate of deposit special, 10-month APY, annual percentage yield 5%. Take advantage of this great rate to grow your savings. For more information, stop by a Poca Valley Bank location today or call 844-782-2651. Poca Valley Bank, where relationships matter. Certain terms and conditions apply. Rates based on minimum annual percentage yield. Subject to change without notice. Minimum deposit required of $10,000 of new money not currently on deposit with Poca Valley Bank to receive APY. Member FDIC.
Reckless big government policies are putting the American dream out of reach. We all know Washington is broken, but it doesn't have to be. Senator Joe Manchin could be part of the solution if he stood up for West Virginia values. Instead, he voted with Joe Biden on the Inflation Reduction Act, which led to higher taxes, trillions in new spending, and tens of thousands of new IRS agents. Tell Joe Manchin, Mountaineers want real, common sense solutions. To learn more, visit ProsperityIsPossible.com. Paid for by Americans for Prosperity.
580 Live, presented in part by your hometown baseball team, the Charleston Dirty Birds. Birds begin a road series tonight at Staten Island. They'll follow that up with a weekend series on the road at Long Island before returning home next week to Go-Mart Ballpark to take on Frederick. For tickets, promotions, Dirty Birds gear, schedules, and more, visit dirtybirdsbaseball.com. Text says, Dear Dave, question for both. I got Hodge and Pushkin here. The country is literally there for the taking. Why can't either party give us a decent candidate to vote for? Mike, we'll start with you, but make it short.
The voters choose the nominees. The primary voters choose the nominees, and we'll see who wins the nomination. But I believe it'll be the incumbent president, President Biden, because of bills like the Inflation Reduction Act, the infrastructure bill, which Trump had infrastructure week every other week, couldn't manage to pass a bipartisan piece of legislation like the infrastructure bill, or the American Rescue Plan, or the bill that helped veterans who were harmed by these burn pits. I mean, that first 2 years, when the Democrats had control of Congress and the White House, we passed monumental pieces of legislation, and that's why I believe he will be the nominee and he'll be reelected.
Right, Tony?
I mean, on the part about the primary voters choosing the nominees, Mike and I are in agreement on this. I mean, we don't have a system where the party is kingmaker. We just don't have that system anymore. I mean, at one time that used to be a kind of a big thing, but now it's just not like that. So I agree with him that it is the primary voters that will choose. That will choose. I do want to say one thing because he said President Biden is going to be the nominee. That's if he can get through, beating Joe Manchin, who's I think it looks like he's going to leave the Democratic Party from what he's saying and go independent. Right. So I mean, look, there's just another guy leaving your party. I mean, he's your standard bearer in this state. He's the top of the ticket guy in West Virginia, and he openly admitted on statewide radio with Hoppy Kirchhoff that he was seriously contemplating leaving the party of Mike Pushkin.
The party, please.
Your thoughts on that, Mike?
Okay, well, you conveniently left
your Democratic nominee.
You conveniently left out the whole reason for the interview, and that's because he was saying that the Inflation Reduction Act doesn't get enough credit because we're seeing all this investment in West Virginia, and Republicans are lining up to get the photo op in front of the ribbon cutting.
He also said that he would backtrack on his own legislation.
He was on Hoppy that day saying that legislation isn't getting enough credit and how it's really disproportionately helping West Virginians because of his work. Excuse me, Tony.
Sorry.
Because he was helped craft this legislation and it was the deciding vote on it, and a lot of it disproportionately helped West Virginia. However, with him saying that he is considering being an independent, that's nothing new. He's always been independent. This is the same Senator Manchin as we knew when he was Governor Manchin. He's always been an independent voice. That's nothing new for him.
So you're saying he doesn't line up with the Democratic Party? That's what you just said. He doesn't line up with your party.
Who does he caucus with in the Senate? When he starts caucusing with Mitch McConnell, then you give me a call because that's not happening.
He's about to leave, man. He's got one foot out the door.
All right. 580 Live is brought to you part by Generations Physical Therapy. Text says GOP has been in charge for West Virginia for 10 years. West Virginia still hovers around 4850 in every positive area. Teachers are leaving. Doctors won't come here. I love West Virginia, but I may have to leave. The state is dying while our leadership argues over culture issues that discriminate and urge those who are different to get out. Tony, answer that. I'm going to let Tony answer this one alone.
Well, here you have two party leaders right here, and we haven't, a whole lot of culture issues haven't came up. I mean, a couple, but we've mostly just debated policy and ideas. I mean, I don't know. I don't see it. Look, we're moving forward. West Virginia's moving forward. The voters clearly agree with the Republican Party. Nothing could be more.
10 seconds.
I'm going to quote your chair, who you work with, Elgin McCardle, chair of the West Virginia Republican Party, when she said, "Go live where you want to live. Practice what you want to practice, but you're not going to fit in well here." That's what her message was to West Virginians who don't agree with you on culture war issues. I want to bring everybody here. I want to grow West Virginia. I want to make this a place where everybody's welcome.
We're growing.
And we should love everybody, Dave.
We should love everybody. Say something nice about Mike. Say something like, hurry.
Mike, you are a great musician and a good singer.
Say something nice about Tony.
You make really good peanut butter fudge, and you're genuinely a nice guy.
I
like being
there
around.
We go.
You're a good guy, and we can both agree that Jim Justice is a rhino. He's not a real Republican.
No.
We got to go. Thanks, guys. I appreciate you being here. See you tomorrow. Until then, have fun and love somebody.
WCHS AM 96.5 FM Charleston and 104.5 Cross Lanes, a WVRC media station. We're proud to live here too.